through the silent valley. A 14-year-old girl, staring blankly at the sight, with a fire torch in one hand. The ravenous flames engulfed everything, leaving only the crackling sound of burnt wood. Burned, all burned. This evil cage has disappeared. At last, this prison for the past 10 years has now turned into a sea of flames. Where are we going? A tender voice softly asked as the little black cat sitting on the girl's shoulder looked at her intently with a pair of clear eyes as it licked its paws. Anywhere will do, as long as it's out of here. The girl gave a last look at her masterpiece, turned and walked toward the mountains, as the sound of broken chains rattled, restricting her slender ankles as she walked on emotionlessly onto the rugged jungle path. Just as she turned, a body wrapped in flames rushed out from within the chaos, with eyes filled with a hint of madness staring fixedly at the back view fading into the darkness, when an ear-piercing scream rang through the air. Wu Xia! Come back! You can never get out of here! You belong to me. More than 10 years of hard work engulfed into nothingness. The girl calmly stopped in her tracks as she turned around to see the man swallowed by the flames. She coldly said, "You are dying, while I still live." The man was screaming in anguish. As she gave a last look at her greatest nightmare, she coldly said, "Farewell, grandfather." The little black cat sitting on the girl's shoulder gave a contemptuous ridicule and sneered. Grandfather? For someone who was obsessed in studying medicine, a madman who locked his own granddaughter up deep within the mountains using her as a guinea pig, what right did he have to be its owner's grandfather? Mistress, what are your plans? Ignoring that voice which was gradually engulfed by the flames, the little black cat asked the girl. She looked at her slender hands and softly answered, "To test for a veterinary license." Ha ha ha. That old man, if he knew that you, a peerless genius in the medical field, actually want to be a vet, he would certainly not rest in peace. Exclaimed the cat as it was laughing hysterically on the girl's shoulder. He won't rest in peace? The girl's eyes were downcast as her lips slightly brought back a hint of a smile almost. A year later, she settled in City A and obtained a veterinary license, and went on the path of treating animals. Life is very unpredictable. Just a moment before, she was still in the operating room performing a surgery. However, there was a sudden explosion, and she fell into darkness. Heavy rain poured down as she stirred. She found herself lying on some rocks as she gave a calm judgment of the current situation. She was in a strange new world, replacing a dying soul, and as she searched the fragments of foreign memories that suddenly flooded her mind, she came to realize that this new her was also known as Wu Xia, but with the surname Jun Wu Xie. Chapter 2, Self-Help, 1. Lin Wang's granddaughter, notoriously known as the overly pampered young miss of the Lin Palace. Arrogant, haughty and unreasonable, everyone was a minuscule existence in her eyes, royalty included. Lin Wang and the founding emperor of the kingdom went way back. They had a great relationship, and they even swore an oath to the heavens to be sworn brothers. When the kingdom of Qi was formed, the founding emperor personally granted Jun Xian a grand title, Lin Wang, which rendered him power almost akin to the royalty. In the whole kingdom, it is one of the most revered place. Even the current emperor has to be courteous to them. Lin Wang has 2 sons, however his extreme doting of his granddaughter Jun Wu Xia has reached a pinnacle. When she took a liking to the second prince, Lin Wang coerced the emperor to have the second prince and his granddaughter betrothed. However, this arrogant woman was now lying on some jagged rocks in such a sorry state. If not for Wu Xia's soul, she would just be a dead body dumped in the wilderness. Both legs fractured, 3 broken ribs on the left side, dislocated right wrist. Falling from such a height, this body has miraculously survived. Another voice in the body of Jun Wu Xia sounded. It was the familiar voice of the little black cat which accompanied her for more than a decade, and surprisingly it was in the same body. Still alive. Jun Wu Xia muttered as she lay on the rocks without any hint of pain on her face, as if the physical pain had nothing to do with her. Congratulations, mistress, you've escaped death once again. Black smoke seeped out from Jun Wu Xia's chest and condensed into a little black cat, strutting at her side. She survived a calamity, however she was still hovering near death's door. She felt her energy slowly seeping away as she shuddered from the torrential downpour which was raining down hard on her body. She needed to find a place to shelter from the rain quickly before her body temperature drops further. Luckily, there was a cave under the low cliffs nearby. Relying on her two hands and the sole thought of survival, she dragged herself in the direction of the cave. Her tattered clothes, soaked in sweat and drenched in the downpour, hung from her battered frame. Crimson blood trailed along the path from the wounds on her legs, washed away from the merciless rain hammering down upon the small crawling figure. The little black cat gave occasional nudges as encouragement as they made their way towards the cave. Having mustered every ounce of strength she had left in her frail body, although the distance wasn't far, it was an enduring feat. With such an amount of injuries and over a rough terrain, even those with high endurance would have fainted numerous times. When she finally reached the dark cave, her face was deathly pale, void of any color. Huddled against the walls of the cold cave, finally free from the barrage of the rain, she let out a small sigh of relief. Suddenly a ghostly voice came from within that deep dark cave. "WH. Who is it?" The black cat asked in a scared voice, body arched, as it lunged itself in front of Wu Xie. "Go take a look." Wu Xie choked out as she knew her current predicament. Alone in such an environment without any medical equipments, she's unable to carry out her own treatment, hence she can only look for other possibilities. Having another person around to help her would be best. Leading the way, the little black cat inched closer towards the source of the sound. In the darkness, Wu Xie felt the presence of another person. "You're about to die." A masculine voice doused with a trace of playfulness came from above her head. Chapter 3, Self-Help 2. Although Wu Xie was unable to see the man's appearance in the darkness, she could clearly hear familiar sounds of the metallic clanging of chains. This man was chained? Beneath the depths of this desolate cliff? As soon as it heard the man's voice, the little black cat immediately turned into a wisp of smoke and hurriedly fled into Wu Xie's body. This man was dangerous. "You're chained up?" Wu Xie totally disregarded his tone of voice as her mind only echoed a single thought: this man can help her. All she needed was his freedom of movement. "Ah? You mean these small things?" The man in the dark was pulling chains. A deep magnetic voice echoed in the dark caves. "I guess so. I'll free you, but you'll have to save me." Wu Xie stuttered as she struggled to get the words out. She was trembling from all the cold and pain. Her body temperature was falling dangerously low and her battered body, which was riddled with severe injuries, wouldn't hold up if she didn't do anything soon. The man in the dark kept quiet. He seemed surprised that this half-dead girl would say such words. Silence means consent, Wu Xie self-reasoned, as she had no other alternatives, so she decided to gamble on this chance. As she groped around in the darkness, she leaned on the man and pulled out a thin pin from her hair. She was a doctor, not a thief. That fool had once performed this trick for her. She wasn't sure if she could pull it off. Wu Xie's little hands tried to reach for the chains as she fumbled around in the dark. From a doctor's perspective, she could feel that this man's physique was exceptional. Using her last shred energy, Wu Xie attempted to free the man with her poor skills. She had never felt so clumsy in her life. With all her toiling efforts, she finally unlocked one. This effort had left her breathing heavily as she struggled to keep her consciousness from fading. "As per your wish." The man finally spoke with an enigmatic deep smile. His deep masculine voice echoed throughout the cave. Before she could even react, click, 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 a series of broken metals sounded around her. He broke free from the other three shackles as she felt some warmth as he pulled her into his arms as he embraced her. He gently lifted her up and carried her as he trudged along towards the light. Outside, the rain continued to fall relentlessly. Although the weather was gloomy, it was daytime and just this little light was enough to show off his exquisite face. The man's high cheekbones perfectly accentuated his face, along with his long satin hair casually draping down. As the crystal-clear rainwater ran down his neck, it was God's most outstanding work. The man was looking up at the sky, when felt a gaze from her. He bowed his head slightly, violet eyes slightly narrowed, his lips breaking into a smile. Wu Xia looked on indifferently into that pair of purple eyes, without any trace of expression. The rain was falling on her pale cheeks as she calmly watched him. He raised his eyebrows slightly. Her unusually calm demeanor was a refreshing reaction. This is the first time someone didn't scream in panic when they saw his eyes. "Aren't you afraid?" he asked in his deep husky voice. "I'm about to die," Wu Xia reminded him matter-of-factly. Her dark eyes looked deeply into that pair of purple eyes, without any hint of desperation or fear, but rather with a clear gaze, as though the death she was talking about wasn't her own. Chapter 4, Lin Palace, 1. The mysterious man raised his eyebrows as he sought to calm his own emotions as the deep black obsidian eyes stared back at him coldly, almost as if it could freeze him over. How he wanted to rouse her calm demeanor and mess up her pace. This girl was unbelievable. How can she be so calm in such a situation? "Don't worry, I won't let you die," he said gently. "Send me home," she retorted. Considering how badly injured she was, the best option and only use for him was to send her back to her own home. He gave a devilish smile, leaned down and kissed Wu Xia right between her eyebrows. "As you wish," he chuckled. The little black cat hidden in the depths of Wu Xia was petrified. Its mistress had just been taken advantage of. Jun Wu Xia felt her surroundings slowly fading away as she slipped into darkness. When she finally stirred, her long eyelashes fluttered open and she found herself lying down on a nice warm bed in a luxuriously decorated room. A white-haired old man was sitting by her bed, and when he saw that she had awoken, his whole face lit up and exclaimed, "Silly girl, you finally woke up. Don't scare your grandfather." "Silly girl, it's just a contractual spirit. So what if you don't have any? Who do you think I am? I am the almighty Lin Wang. I'll support you no matter what. There's nothing to be afraid of." Jun Xian huffed. "Grandfather?" Wu Xia furrowed her brows as the body's memories flashed through her mind. The old man sitting by her bed was none other than Kingdom of Qis Lin Wang, which is also the former's grandfather, Jun Xian. What Jun Xian mentioned, contractual spirit, was unique to this world. When a baby is born into this world, contractual spirits will form a bond with the human soul, and the contractual spirits will sleep in the soul and only awaken at the age of 14. A ring will appear on the right hand's ring finger. Each spirit is like an evolution of the soul, where each person's contractual spirit's form is different. Some can be condensed into a powerful weapon, while some can morph into mighty beasts. A few days before was Jun Wu Xia's 14th birthday, and there should have been a spiritual awakening, but the whole day nothing happened. She was henceforth labeled as a waste. In this world where one's future is determined by the strength of their contractual spirits, those that didn't have any were regarded as wastes. Jun Wu Xia refused to believe it and had never received such a heavy setback in life. She actually went missing for 2 whole days. Jun Xian was shocked, thinking that this proud granddaughter of his couldn't take this heavy setback and had actually attempted suicide. Jun Wu Xia remained silent. Commit suicide? I don't think so. After inheriting all the memories of this body, Wu Xia was clearer than anyone else that it definitely wasn't suicide. The reason she left Lin Palace was simply because 3 days ago the second prince had arranged to meet up with her. As the previous Jun Wu Xia was depressed that she did not have any contractual spirit, when her beloved second prince asked to meet up with her, she had agreed in a heartbeat. She yearned to be consoled by her beloved prince. However, when she arrived at the appointed place, in place of her handsome prince stood a mysterious masked man in black instead. Chapter 5, Lin Palace, 2. That very man was the one who wounded her and pushed her down into the abyss. If it weren't for those trees growing by the cliff breaking her fall, she wouldn't have had this second chance in life. Not suicide, but homicide. Jun Wu Xia's mind quickly pondered on the situation. Whether that masked man in black was the second prince himself did not matter. This definitely was related to him one way or another. Jun Xian had contributed greatly to the expansion of the kingdom's borders with his elite troops, the Rui Lin army. No one else wanted to get tangled with them unless they were courting death. Even the current emperor is polite towards Jun Xian. His Majesty still treats Lin Palace with extra care, but the decline of the Jun family is apparent. Jun Xian had 2 sons, but one died and the other was disabled, leaving only a wastrel Jun Wusa who only knew how to keep her nose in the clouds. The future of the Jun family looked bleak. It can be said that today's Lin Palace is just a paper tiger. The main powerhouse Jun Xian was already over 70 years old. After all, he's been through so much, especially since after that great war which caused him to lose his eldest son and crippled his younger son, all the hardships had contributed to Jun Xian's health deteriorating, coupled with occasional bouts of illnesses, and his age, he feared, didn't have much time left. As of late, the royal family has been acting more blatantly towards the Lin Palace. Jun Wuxia's encounter could very well be the designs the royal family had towards the Lin Palace. It's obvious that the second prince no longer holds the Lin Palace in regards and even dared to act so brazenly. The black cat muttered. At first it had thought that its master was reborn into a good home, but did not expect her to be embroiled in such a situation where she still had to fight for her own survival. Jun Wuxia raised her eyebrow slightly. The small black cat immediately curled into a ball, burying its head between its pair of furry paws. Seeing that his granddaughter was silent, most probably still feeling scared, Jun Xian did not nag any further. He looked lovingly at Wuxia and said, "It's alright, as long as you are back, take a good rest. If you need anything, call your brother." Brother? Jun Wuxia searched through the memories, yet she did not find any brother. Jun Xian had only 2 sons, the eldest son was her father, while her mother had died soon after she gave birth to Jun Wuxia. In that fateful war, she had lost her father in the bloody battlefield, and her uncle was gravely injured and had become a cripple. "Wu Yao, come in and take care of your sister, I'm heading out for a while," Jun Xian called out. The door was pushed open and a tall man's figure could be seen. She looked at her brother in amazement. Exquisite, handsome face, just like God's most perfect work, that magnetic pair of eyes as dark as night. "Yes." The man smiled. Jun Xian nodded with satisfaction. He repeatedly nagged at Wuxia to rest before he left this pair of siblings alone. On one end of the room stood Jun Wuxia, and at the other end stood a dazzlingly striking Wu Yao. The next moment, a black shadow flashed by Wuxia's body, and in front of Wuxia stood a little black cat fiercely guarding her as it stood by the bed with its small mouth slightly curled up, revealing its sharp teeth as it hissed. Jun Wuyao casually looked at the small hissing figure while he leisurely walked over and slowly pulled out the chair. As he sat down on the chair and crossed his legs, his gaze finally landed on Jun Wuxia. Chapter 6, Lin Palace 3. Jun Wuxia looked calmly at the charming man who was exuding a dangerous aura, the man who claimed to be her brother. Lin Palace never had a Jun Wuyao in the family registrar. That man sitting in the chair was the very man she had saved from the cave that day, but the only difference was that pair of deep purple eyes were now black as obsidian. "What did you do?" she asked with a frosty expression as she stared menacingly into his eyes. Jun Wuyao gave her a casual side glance as he propped his chin, raised his eyebrows slightly and curled his lips upwards in a teasing fashion as he stared back at this presumptuous girl. "Repaying my gratitude," he replied. "No need," she retorted. "Unfortunately, the choice is not yours," he threw her an enigmatic smile. Jun Wuxia furrowed her eyebrows. "This man is dangerous. What method did he use to make even the great Lin Wang acknowledge him as his own grandson? What did you do to the people of my Lin Palace?" Jun Wuyao faintly smiled at her and lifted his hands to reveal a small hair-like snake coiled around his fingertips. "Don't be afraid, I just let these little things into their body and temporarily tweaked a little of their memory. I will not hurt anybody here, you can rest assured." The little black cat was completely shocked. What kind of demon did its mistress save this time? Also, those black hair-like snake creatures had its instincts on high alert. They were not to be trifled with. They could enter a human's body and even alter people's memories? Is this kitten your contracted spirit? He asked as he looked on amusingly while studying the various expressions on the black cat. That has nothing to do with you. She sneered. Why are you so cold towards me, my dear sister? He chuckled. This place is not for you, it's time for you to leave. She stated. Her inner thoughts were in turmoil. This man was too dangerous. Nothing good will happen with him staying on in the Lin Palace. Just as Jun Woyao lowered his voice and smiled, a sudden surge of power could be felt as those black hair-like snakes started dancing wildly on his fingertips. Don't be so heartless, you saved me, all I want is to exact vengeance on my enemies. If you can't even accede to this humble little request of mine, then I can only destroy these little things in the body of those of your Lin Palace. It's just that. If these were forcibly destroyed from within, I'm afraid they may suffer. I wonder what will become of the Lin Palace? Are you threatening me? Jun Wuxian narrowed her eyes. Nope, this is a request, he replied as he curled his lips upwards. Request? If she did not agree, he would kill everyone? This was considered a request? Don't be so nervous, it's just that I have temporarily nowhere to go to. When the time comes, I will naturally leave. Before leaving, I would also like to repay your kindness. I can assure you, I won't hurt anyone here. Jun Wuyao said with a smile. Won't you kill everyone off when you leave? She asked in a chilling voice. I won't. When it's time to leave, I can promise you that I won't harm anyone. He patiently replied. It's not as if I have a choice, she icily said as she gritted her teeth. Jun Wuyao shrugged. Knowing that she can't get rid of this dangerous man for the time being, she simply closed her eyes to rest and no longer paid him any attention. The little black cat was assured that no harm will come upon its mistress for the moment. It let out a small sigh of relief as it nimbly leaped onto the bed and curled up at the edge of Wuxie's pillow, but it maintained its vigilance as its pair of watchful eyes never once left the man sitting on the chair. This man was very, very dangerous. He's the most dangerous person it has ever encountered. Chapter 7 Uninvited Guests 1. Jun Wuyao saw that she had already settled back in bed and knew that she had acceded to this request of his. By some stroke of luck he had regained his freedom. Since the heavens had blessed him, he would definitely regain all that was lost. Before he exacted this vengeance of his, he needed to rebuild his strength back to its peak. Meeting this interesting little girl along the way might relieve his boredom. She was unlike those other boring people. Staying here would be entertaining. Over the next couple of days, all sorts of rare pills and potions were being sent into her room. While all the best doctors in the country were summoned for Jun Wuxie's treatment. If she had a choice, she would have treated herself. Looking at the treatment those white-haired doctors were administering, Wuxia was trembling with anger within. They were quacks. They were all quacks. If it was her, such injuries would have been easily treated within 10 days, but from the mouths of these doctors all of them reported the healing period of not less than 1 month. As her injuries were too serious for her to tend to herself, she didn't have any choice but to patiently bear through the month. During this period, her grandfather dropped by to visit her every day to check on her recovery. Jun Wuyao rarely visited. When she had finally recovered enough to walk on her own, Jun Wuyao appeared at the door. You are finally looking much better, he chortled as he leaned against the door and flashed her a devilish grin. I'm going to change clothes. Jun Wuxia expressionlessly glanced at him, all with a single meaning. Scram! Unfortunately, someone did not seem to get the hint. Rather than going away, he actually strode over to Jun Wuxia's side and raised his hands and gently lifted her up. The little black cat's fur stood on ends. Release its mistress, you beast! It screamed out in its head. Sister has not completely healed yet, it's very inconvenient for you. This kind of thing, it's natural for brother to help you. When he finished, Jun Wuyao completely ignored the black pair of flaming eyes as he carried his dear sister to the bed and began picking out a set of clean clothes for her and began changing Jun Wuxie. Jun Wuxie's brain crashed as she sat there dumbfounded while he removed her outer robes. No matter be it past or present other than medical situations, Wuxie never had any intimate contact with the opposite sex. He simply helped himself? Jun Wuxie gave him a death stare as she pursed her lips tightly. The only one who was behaving correctly in this situation was the little black furball. Its master was being taken of such a huge advantage. And yet she had no response? Now it's not the time to be in a daze. Slap him. Jun Wuxie sat there petrified without any resistance as he changed her. Her calm demeanor startled him, and after changing her, he gave her a teasing smile as he carried her out towards the door. "Where are we going?" Wuxie finally choked out. She waved to the cat and it leaped up into the air and it turned into a black mist returning to her. "We have a guest," Jun Wuyao replied as he gave her a dazzling smile. Chapter 8, Uninvited Guests, 2. In the Lin Palace Grand Hall, tea was being served to the guests. Hosting the session was a good-looking man in his early 30s. He was wearing a pale blue robe, but he was seated on a wheelchair. It was such a pity that such a good man turned out to be a cripple. To his right sat another man wearing a light yellow silk brocade. He was handsome and had an air of arrogance. Next to him was an elegant beauty dressed in white. "Please wait for a while, Second Prince. Wuxie has not fully recovered, hence she would take some time to come over," the man in the wheelchair politely informed his guests. He was none other than the youngest son of Jun Xian, Jun Chang. Second Prince Mo Xianfei nodded with an indifferent expression. Although he was Jun Wuxie's fiancé, during this entire time, this was actually his first time coming round to visit. What's more, he even brought along another woman. Jun Chang's face naturally did not look good. Soon, Jun Wuyao came to the hall. Mo Xianfei's indifferent attitude dispersed immediately as he creased his forehead. Mo Xianfei can be said to be one of the best-looking men in the entire kingdom of Qi, but now his fiancé Jun Wuxie was carried out by a man far surpassing his own league. As Wuxie was still recuperating, she had lost her former rosy little face. It was now slightly pale, which made her features exude a feeling like a blooming white lotus. She was quietly nestled in the arms of a strange man. Her former domineering attitude was replaced with a delicate and charming demeanor. Mo Xianfei did not like Jun Wuxie. This was a well-known fact known throughout the entire kingdom. Their promised marriage was only due to fear of antagonizing Lin Wang, as he had complete control on his Rue Lin army. But this does not mean that Mo Xianfei was happy to see his fiancé make a cuckold of him. "And this is?" Mo Xianfei asked with a deep frown. "This is Jun Wuyao," Wuxie's brother, Jun Qing subconsciously answered. "What?" Mo Xianfei's expression changed for the worst. Lin Palace third generation only had one person. Where did this Jun Wuyao appear from? Does that mean that Lin Wang had long taken precautions against the royal family and actually concealed such an important fact? Mo Xianfei's eyes slightly narrowed. "No, Wuyao is an orphan, brought up by my father, who had picked him up and raised him outside. This time as Wuxie was seriously injured, with father's poor health and I can't help, we decided to call Wuyao back to take care of her," Jun Qing replied. They had no blood relations. Mo Xianfei heaved a sigh of relief. From the beginning, Mo Xianfei did not care about Jun Wuxie. Jun Wuyao and Jun Wuxie slowly settled into their seats. She gave the opposite couple a casual glance and secretly sneered. So this was the man the original Wuxie was so fascinated with. However, she had no recollection of the woman seated next to him. Imperial father learned that Wuxie is injured, so he sent some tonics over. Yun Xian happened to be around and I asked her to come by and take a look at the injury. Yun Xian is skilled in medicine and it's better that she take a look to make sure you recover well. His indifferent expression had already returned, however. Whenever he mentioned that woman, he would gaze affectionately at her and his tone softened whenever he mentioned her name. That look was as though he was looking at his own sweetheart. Chapter 9, Uninvited Guests, 3. That scoundrel. The little black cat echoed in Jun Wuxie's mind. In front of his fiancée, he was actually flirting with another woman. Jun Wuxie, who had been silent the entire time, finally spoke. There's no need. This world's doctors have tormented her enough. Jun Wuxie's refusal had caused Imo Xianfei and his companion's smiling face to crumble. Imo Xianfei voiced his displeasure and said, Yun Xian is the direct disciple of Qing Yun clan's sovereign. Qing Yun clan? Jun Wuxie raised her eyebrow slightly. Even Jun Qing's face bore a hint of surprise. There were several major powers outside Kingdom of Qi, one of which was the Qing Yun clan. They are well renowned through the continents and had remained undisputed in the field of medicine for generations. They have a long history of producing geniuses, each whose name had fame that could shake the entire continent. The most famed was their sovereign, who has the ability akin to a saint, garnering every kingdom's respect. The Kingdom of Qi will definitely be on the losing end if they angered the Qing Yun clan. Bai Yun Xian was the sovereign's disciple, which meant that her status in the clan was quite high. After Imo Xianfei had introduced her, Bai Yun Xian lifted her chin up slightly and her features could be seen clearer, and it was of an otherworldly appearance. I spent a lot of effort to invite Yun Xian over. Furthermore, Wu Xia has no contractual spirit. If she doesn't heal well, what will become of her? Although we are not destined for each other, no matter what, as an acquaintance or even a friend, I should also help her. Imo Xianfei finally conveyed his intentions. Jun Qing's face was black as coal. Previously, Imo Xianfei had taken Jun Wuxie as his fiancée, entirely due to Lin Palace's military power, but now he had nothing to fear as he found an even stronger backing. Even Jun Xian's military power, no matter how big, is not Qing Yun clan's opponent. Imo Xianfei's purpose was very clear. He wanted to break this marriage engagement. Does this mean that second prince wants to break your engagement with our Wu Xie? Jun Qing was gripping the wheelchair so hard, his knuckles turned white. This is quite upsetting. Although I have no feelings towards Wu Xie, since I had gained her affection, I wanted to try to get along and see if we could progress further. But it's been so long, I really do not harbor any feelings towards her, and it's been determined that she has no contractual spirit. We are not destined for each other. Imo Xianfei patiently explained. How can he marry such a spoiled and haughty girl who did not even have a contractual spirit? No matter what he was a prince of a nation. How could he marry a waste and become a laughing stock? He did not care about Jun Wuxie and had thoroughly humiliated her by bringing out her infatuation with him as well as her status as a waste. He had completely pushed the blame to her and wiped his slate clean. Jun Qing's already ashen face silently cursed himself and blamed own uselessness. Due to his disability, others are bullying his niece in his own home, yet he could do nothing at all to protect what's precious to him. Has Lin Palace declined so much? Jun Qing could not bear to see Wu Xie's forlorn expression. Knowing how much she was smitten with Imo Xianfei, with her arrogant temper, and now she was insulted by that very man she had pinned for, how she can stand it? However, what he saw left him stunned. Instead of a drama unfolding before his eyes, what he saw was entirely different from his expectations. Jun Wuxie, with an aloft and indifferent aura, casually glanced at Imo Xianfei and Bai Yun Xian. Chapter 10, Uninvited Guests, 4. She did not get angry? Is that all? Jun Wuxie looked at them indifferently. Her calmness had made not only Jun Qing but Imo Xianfei shocked speechless. This was beyond their expectations. When she wanted the engagement, she desperately did every single thing in her power, even to the extent of abusing her grandfather's position to corner him into agreeing. However, now that he himself had announced the annulment, she acted as though it had nothing to do with her. Jun Wuxie, let's go our separate ways. Let Yun Xian heal you and we'll owe each other nothing henceforth. Mo Xianfei furrowed his eyes as he couldn't read her. What was she scheming this time round? Jun Wuxia cast a glance at Yun Xian and she looked at her from head to toe as if appraising an item, and her lips curved into a gentle smile. The world is a vast place, why don't you go out and have a look? Jun Wuxia asked in a playful tone. What do you mean? Mo Xianfei was puzzled. Jun Wuyao simply chuckled. I think she meant it's time for you to scram, his eyes slightly teary, trying hard to hold back his laughter as he very kindly offered them her explanation. Mo Xianfei's face instantly became livid. Jun Wuxia, even if you do not agree to the annulment of our engagement, you have to. Imperial Father has already prepared the edict and it would be announced to the whole world tomorrow. Bai Yun Xian, who was quiet all this time, finally spoke out in a gentle and soft voice. Miss Jun, my master once said that all life will eventually end. Some things can't be forced. In your current predicament, it is not wise for you to further pursue this marriage. She kindly offered her advice guised with an undertone of arrogance. In short, do not be shameless and stick to Mo Xianfei. How dare she? Mistress! This woman is berating you. Little Black Cat was fuming at this adulterous couple. I'm tired. Jun Wuxia gave an exaggerated look of fatigue and didn't even bother to cast her glance at the couple, although they were directly in her line of sight. She turned and looked over at Wu Yao. Jun Wuyao stood up naturally, stretched his hands out as he scooped Wu Xia's petite body into his arms and left the hall without looking back. Mo Xianfei's face got uglier by each second. Jun Wuxia had never ignored him before, but today, she practically ignored his existence. It's getting late already, dear guests, please return. Jun Qing said coldly. If not for their special identities, he would have kicked them out long ago. Mo Xianfei was about to say something, but Bai Yun Xian stood up with a hint of dissatisfaction. He swallowed whatever he was about to say and could only follow quietly as she stormed out. In the quiet hall, Jun Cheng's face was as white as sheet. When did Lin Palace need to tolerate such insults? Looking at how things are progressing, with his aging father and no suitable successor to the Rue Lin army, the royal family is starting to act out their thoughts. From Mo Xianfei's actions today, it can be seen that the royal family no longer held the Lin Palace in any regards. Whilst carrying Wu Xia in his arms, Wu Yao had on a playful smile. You're not angry? He lowered his gaze and looked at her. It was clear as day that the second prince had purposely brought his new love to visit with bad intentions. However, not a trace of anger could be seen. She raised her head slightly. Staring at him was a pair of eyes as calm as night, filled with question marks. Jun Wuyao could not help but his smile deepened as his crescent eyes revealed a faint glint. No one could fathom what he was on his mind. Wu Xia, you really have a good temper. Chapter 11, Assault. I'm hungry. Jun Wuxia's main priority was to get well fast. The longer she left it to those quacks, she shuddered just from the thought of it. Jun Wuyao left her in the care of the servants and quietly disappeared. After storming out from Lin Palace, Bai Yun Xian's face was full of discontent. No matter how much Mo Xianfei tried to coax her, she simply ignored him. If it wasn't you who had requested me, do you think I would have even stepped into that place? Who does she think she is? Bai Yun Xian huffed as she bit her lower lip. As Qingyan clan sovereign's disciple, the number of people seeking her was as long as a dragon. However, on the account of Mo Xianfei, despite her own reluctance, she still went over. The result? She was driven out. She had never suffered from such humiliation before. Yun Xian, why waste your energy over a waste? He cajoled her. No matter what, you are a prince of a kingdom. By lowering your head in front of another, you sneered Bai Yun Xian. Mo Xianfei's face flushed with embarrassment. Do not be angry, I will definitely take revenge for you. Appeasing her was the key. Sure enough, after hearing those words of his, Bai Yun Xian's expression was slightly better. Don't forget this promise of yours. She peeked over at him. Definitely, I won't make any empty promises. Mo Xianfei heaved a sigh of relief. To cheer her up, Mo Xianfei did not directly head back to the palace. Instead, they traveled in the carriage with a team of guards and went out of town to sightsee. Only when she finally revealed a smiling face after watching the sunset at the famed Sea of Flowers did they head back to the city. On their way back, in the carriage Mo Xianfei was holding onto Yun Xian's hands as they leaned on each other. The carriage came to an abrupt stop. The carriage was traveling at a relatively fast pace, and when it was stopped so suddenly, they almost fell out of the carriage. "Why did you stop?" bellowed Mo Xianfei. But no one responded to his question. As he went out to reprimand them, he could see a silhouette of a person quietly standing in front of the entourage as the darkness of the night enveloped him. The light from the flames of the torches could not reach his face. "Who is there?" Mo Xianfei asked with a guarded expression. By this time, Yun Xian had also stepped out of the carriage. The team at the front watched the stranger cautiously as they watched him slowly raise his slightly open hands when he suddenly clenched his fist. Instantly all the bodyguards' bodies burst at the same time, splattering blood everywhere. "Aha!" Yun Xian let out a shrill scream as the bloody remains splattered onto her beautiful skirt. The fire torches all fell to the ground, turning their surrounding into a wall of fire. In the middle of it all were two frightened figures closely huddled together. Watching the ring of fire, a lone figure took a step back. "Unfortunately, I don't have a good temper," he whispered under the moonlight. Chapter 12, Memories of 1. The little black cat was lying comfortably on Jun Wuxie's lap, enjoying its mistress's touch. "Mistress, this Lin Palace is not safe, should we leave?" The little black cat purred. What happened today only showed that Lin Palace could not hold out much longer. The royal palace actions were clearly getting out of hand. "We're not going anywhere," Jun Wuxie casually replied. This world was not the same as her past life. Though Lin Palace was slowly crumbling, it was still the safest haven. Even though she was an expert in medicine, she can't change the fact that the current her was physically very weak. In this strange world there are too many dangers lurking around. Lin Palace's main power is Jun Xian. Since I'm here, I will not let him die so easily. Jun Wuxie's eyebrow raised her eyebrows slightly. Whoever she wanted to protect, she would not fail at it. This body's constitution is too poor, even lacking a contractual spirit. If I had one I would be able to survive better in this world. What is a contractual spirit? The little black cat knew nothing of this world. Jun Wuxie raised her right hand and showed it her ring finger. Slender fingers, soft and smooth like white jade. Normally upon reaching the age of 14, a ring will appear on the right hand's ring finger, but there was nothing on hers. Meow. Black cat held onto her slender fingers with its furry paws, clinging onto her slender fingers and gently licked the fingers she stuck out. Suddenly it constricted its pupils. Mistress, there seems to be a strange power on your finger. Are you sure it is not a contractual spirit? The black cat could sense a small trace of spiritual fluctuations. Jun Wuxie's eyebrow raised her eyebrows slightly, stroking her right hand's ring finger. She could not see anything, but when her fingers grazed past she could feel a strange surge of spiritual fluctuations surrounding her fingertips. Her heart was beating with excitement as she felt the power converging around her ring finger. There was a sudden burst of brilliance which illuminated the whole room. A white lotus enveloped in a silvery white light was floating in midair. Meow. A flower? The pair of black eyes blinked a few times and looked over at Jun Wuxie hesitatingly. Contractual spirit species are divided into two types. They can either turn into weapons or morph into mighty beasts. But Wuxie's spirit turned out to be a white lotus. Plant contractual spirits were really unheard of. Jun Wuxie carefully reached out as the white lotus slowly landed on her palm. As she was slowly studying the lotus, there was a knock on the door. At that moment, the white lotus disappeared without a trace. "Come in," she answered impatiently. Jun Wuyao stepped in as he lazily leaned against the door, hands holding a bowl of medicine. Time to take your medicine. Chapter 13, Memories of 2. Jun Wuxie glanced at him as he plopped himself in front of her, and in a very smooth and practiced motion, he personally fed her the medicine. For Jun Wuxie, she didn't think too deep into those actions, as she naively took for granted that he was honestly repaying his gratitude. From birth, she grew up in the secret villa for over 10 years. From a naive young child to her teens, she didn't get much chance to learn and understand the outside world. How to get along with others were not within the scope of her thinking. During that period of time, only numerous medical books and medical knowledge filled her brain. Her only relative held her captive deep in the mountains. Do not expect anything from her with regards to the ways of the world. Jun Wuyao bent over slightly, one hand on her back firmly supporting her while a bowl of medicine in the other hand, slowly feeding her. When he bent over, she gave a slight frown. "I do not like the smell of blood," she said grimly. Jun Wuyao smiled stiffly. Jun Wuxie continued sipping the medicine. As Jun Wuyao carried the empty bowl away, as soon as he left the room, his smile faded. Raising his hand, he sniffed his sleeve, a very faint smell of blood. Earlier on, he was careful not to get any bloodstains on himself. "It seems that next time, I must take a bath first." Frivolous smile appeared once again on Jun Wuyao's handsome face, dark eyes so deep that reflected no traces of any emotion. The second morning, the news spread like wildfire in the imperial city. Last night, on his way back from the Sea of Flowers, the second prince and his entourage was attacked by a mysterious group and all his guards were annihilated. Second prince had a bloody battle with the enemy and only managed to protect the life of his own and a beauty. This matter has enraged the emperor, who had ordered a thorough investigation of the matter, putting a huge bounty on the culprits who had dared to assassinate the prince. There was a huge outburst within the imperial city walls. There were many discussions going around the grapevine. Everybody was talking about it. Everyone knows that the second prince and the Lin Palace's Jun Wuxie have an arranged marriage. However, that night when the second prince was attacked, that beauty whom he saved was not his fiancée Jun Wuxie. This meant that earlier that day he had gone with another woman to the Sea of Flowers. Jun Wuxie was a tyrant. Everyone knows that Lin Palace young miss was extremely rude and arrogant, always stirring trouble in the city. People cannot help but speculate that the perpetrator on the attack on the second prince was none other than Jun Wuxie. After all, her fiancé went out with another woman. A normal woman cannot stand for this, let alone the tyrannical nature of Jun Wuxie. In only one morning, the imperial city was in chaos. The second prince was unwilling to endure the outrageous tyrannical Jun Wuxie and secretly went out with a beauty. However, she found out about it and had sent the Rue Lin army to go undercover and attempted to kill the second prince and his new love. The rumors went down the grapevine, versions recollected as if they were the ones who had witnessed it. Chapter 14, 3 is a crowd. An imperial edict arrived the very next day, dissolving the marriage engagement between the second prince and Jun Wuxie. Yesterday, there was speculation that the attack on the second prince might have been related to Jun Wuxie. However, with the arranged marriage dissolved at such timing only proved one thing: they were definitely related. Within the imperial city, Jun Wuxie's reputation had hit a bottom low. After the rumors spread, she was said to be the most vicious woman at the tip of everyone's tongue. Many women, who were also smitten by the second prince's handsome looks, berated her actions endlessly. All these chaos enveloped the perimeter of Lin Palace walls. Inside, all was tranquil. She cooped herself up in her room, busy studying her own White Lotus contractual spirit. In the Lin Palace study, Jun Xian was enraged, suppressing the urge to tear the imperial edict up into shreds. Good. Very good. Now that I'm old and useless, everyone thinks they can bully my granddaughter. He clenched his teeth as he gripped the edict tightly in his hands. Jun Qing had told him of the previous day's happenings, and although he expected the imperial edict to arrive sooner or later, he didn't think it would have been at such a crucial timing. Receiving the edict at such time will only let the rumors run amok with speculations that Jun Wuxia had a hand in the attack. Although Jun Xian knew his granddaughter had an arrogant attitude, he knew she didn't have the guts to kill anyone. Not to mention she was at home throughout the whole time to recuperate. She hadn't left the house even once. How could she have engaged anyone to attack Mo Xianfei? The chaotic grapevine even involved the Rui Lin army saying that she had engaged them to help her with her little revenge. How was this even possible? Despite his excessive fawning over her, and although the Rui Lin army was his own troops, he had an upright and strict character. Not once had he ever let her be in contact with the troops, let alone give her precedence over such a great power. Mo Xianfei had yet to recover from the shock of the attack, and yet the edict was sent out. This couldn't help but make others think that the Lin Palace was involved in this and rendered a great black mark towards the Lin Palace. "Father, are we going to tell her all these things that are happening?" Jun Cheng's sullen face was apparent. He hated the fact that he was crippled and he had no power to protect his family. Jun Xian shook his head. "You can't tell her anything. Knowing her temper, what kind of ruckus would she cause? Also, her body has not fully healed. His Majesty has appointed me to lead the investigations of the attack on the second prince. I will find out the truth and clear her name of all charges." After serving his country loyally for so many years, this was what he was repaid with. His 2 sons were sacrificed in the process. One died in battle, while the other was crippled. He only had his precious granddaughter left, but with the imperial decree, it washed her reputation down the drain. Who else would dare to marry her after such treatment by the royal family? His Majesty, you are really very heartless. Jun Xian whispered as he closed his eyes wearily. It was apparent that the Lin Palace had not much hope for the future, but they even wanted to involve his only granddaughter in this power struggle. Jun Cheng lowered his head in silence and bit his lower lip as he unconsciously clenched his hands on his pair of wasted legs. Chapter 15, Grandfather. If he could return to the battlefield, even if they were facing Qingyan clan, His Majesty would not have been so ruthless towards Lin Palace. Over the years, Jun Xian was aware of his excessive military merit as he continued to reduce the Rui Lin army. Who knew that this would have paved the way to the current situation? "I'm going to protect Jun Wuxia to my last breath. No one can even think about touching my granddaughter," he proclaimed with a glint in his eyes. "I have already lost my son. I cannot afford to lose his daughter as well. She is my one and only Lin Wang's precious granddaughter." Deep into the night, this father and son pair were in the study discussing in hushed tones the precarious situation the family was currently facing. Standing by the door was the silhouette of 2 figures. Jun Wuxia listened on quietly as she stared at the door. Grandfather. In her previous world, that grandfather of hers made her spend over 10 years in bleak darkness. What was suffering, what was despair, she had a thorough grasp on them. However, the grandfather of this body was like a sunlight piercing through the darkness. When she had first met him, he had poured out overwhelming love and concern which she had no idea how to react to. This was something that she has never experienced before. Whenever he found something interesting, the first thing he did was to send it to her room. If she had a slight frown on her face, he would try all means and ways to coax her. Subconsciously, she started to avoid contact with him as she did not know how to respond to him, as the memory of her grandfather was completely different. But she did not think that he would have done things for her to this extent. Also, Lin Palace has been suspicious towards the royal family's schemes, but had turned a blind eye to it as he had sworn his loyalty and believed that all the years of service he had rendered wouldn't be overlooked. But this time, with the spearhead pointing towards his granddaughter, the blind loyalty dissipated. For his granddaughter, he was willing to give up everything. With her faint heart still throbbing, she squeezed her skirt tightly. "Are all grandfathers supposed to be like that?" she asked with furrowed brows. Standing beside her, Jun Wuyao was looking at her pale little face, and he did not know why her face suddenly flushed with excitement. "Do you still want to go in?" he asked as he looked at her curiously. No, she shook a head as her usually calm expression had a glimmer of warmth. She had initially wanted to discuss with her grandfather on doing her own treatment but did not expect to hear these by the door. She turned to leave the study. She needed some peace and quiet to think things through. As she turned to leave, his amused dark eyes revealed a hint of dark purple. He felt that these human monarchs behaved in a ridiculous manner. He just wanted to kill them all. Dangerous fire from the depth of his half-amused eyes was ignited. But if things were done this way, it will also get her into trouble. The killing intent slowly faded. Let's wait and see. Chapter 16, Small White Lotus, 1. When she went back to her room, the little black cat immediately appeared and jumped onto her shoulder as it rubbed against her cheek affectionately. Are all grandfathers supposed to be like this? She was sitting in front of the bronze mirror, looking at the strange yet familiar reflection. According to normal relationships, that's the way should be. The black cat was swinging its bushy tail. It was the only one who knew what the word grandfather meant for her. Is that so? Her eyes lowered as she gently clutched her chest. Within it, she felt a warm feeling radiate, something she's never felt before. A little sour, a little warm. She loved it. Jun Wuya once asked her whether she was angry when Mo Xianfei and Bai Yun Xian came over to break the marriage arrangement. The answer in her heart was, why should she be? For her, the past of this body had nothing to do with her. Even the Lin Palace did not have much relationship to her, so she did not feel the need to be angry. But now things are different. Jun Xian's voice echoed in her head. The constant nagging to eat her medicine, the little attempts at jokes when he was trying to get her to smile, these were all foreign to her. He is my grandfather. The reflection in the bronze mirror revealed a small smile, one that was enough to melt snow and ice. God had given her compensation for her past experience, giving her a chance to feel what it's like to have someone to care for her and to protect her. She will certainly not let anyone destroy this newfound happiness. I will not let anything happen to Lin Palace, myself or my grandfather, she said with conviction as she narrowed her eyes. In the past, nothing was worthy of her concern, but now, things have changed. Lin Palace is now in muddy waters, and to protect it, she must take some decisive actions. Things were not so simple. My white lotus, in the end. What are you? She whispered under her breath as she traced her slender finger over the empty ring spot. Faint light diffused from her fingers and the white lotus appeared once again. Meow. Do you want to try and see what can it do? The black cat was swishing its tail in excitement as it cocked its head and stared intently on the white lotus. She placed the white lotus on her palm and gently brushed its petals. A sweet fragrance permeated the entire room. Its scent is lovely, as she took in a deep whiff. Somehow she had always felt that whenever she smelled this scent, her blood flow deemed smoother, as though this scent had a relation to this feeling. This lotus fragrance is very strange. It has a very enticing smell and even conditions the human blood. Perhaps this lotus might have other uses as well. As she reached out to pull off a petal, at that moment, before the petal was pulled off. Ouch! Pain, 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 a gentle childlike voice sounded out as her surroundings turned misty. When the mist gradually dispersed, a small little boy was sitting on the floor tearfully holding his arm, looking dejectedly at Jun Wuxia. Meow. The sudden appearance of this little kid scared the black cat out of its wits and it almost fell off as it scrambled to sit back on Jun Wuxia's shoulders. Jun Wuxia looked on speechlessly at the small milky white doll-like boy seated on the floor. He was wearing a small bib with a vivid white lotus design which looks exactly like her white lotus contractual spirit. Chapter 17, Small White Lotus, 2. Where did this little thing pop out from? His delicate little face and his big watery eyes filled with grievances, looked at Jun Wuxia as if she had done something very wrong. Monster! Black Cat exclaimed loudly, staring at the little guy. I'm not a monster. The little boy said, startled by his own outburst as he fiddled with his fingers. Who are you? Jun Wuxia looked at him innocently. Get him thrown out. This guy is definitely a monster. The black cat felt almost numb. Ever since they transversed into this world, the variety of bizarre things have happened so much. When the little boy heard the cat said that he should be thrown out, he immediately started crying. I am not a monster, you cannot throw me out. I'm your contractual spirit. Contractual spirit. How could you throw out your own contractual spirit? The sobbing little boy claimed, while looking at Jun Wuxie. Big tears from his eyes were falling when suddenly, the room was infused with a deep lotus scent. I didn't know that contractual spirits could turn into humans? Jun Wuxie rebutted harshly, her gorgeous face not a trace of softening up. Little boy opened his mouth, looked at Jun Wuxie as if wronged. I really am your contractual spirit. If you do not believe me, I can change into a more familiar form for you. Then it slowly stood up, stifling its tears when he disappeared without a trace. In his place, a beautiful white lotus was floating in midair. Jun Wuxie no longer knew how to express the shock in her mind. Poof, the white lotus disappeared once again and the little boy once reappeared in the same place. For that moment, Jun Wuxie thought of the magicians in her previous world. Now do you believe me? The little guy was watching Jun Wuxie's response in earnest. Although he also knows that even in the spirit world, he was different from the rest, but he really is a contractual spirit. June looked leisurely at her own contractual spirit white lotus flower, which was already hard to accept as it was the first she had heard of a plant contractual spirit, but now that it could even transform. However, looking at the little arm and legs, not to mention fighting, if others gave him a punch, it would most probably put him to death almost immediately. Sure enough, it's still useless? Jun Wuxie muttered out loud, frowning slightly, not hiding her discontent that this was not her ideal contractual spirit. Brooding Jun Wuxie did not notice, after she carelessly said those words, the already uneasy little lotus was again on the verge of tears. Sniff, please do not turn me away, I'm useful, I'm really useful. Alert to his own master's loath, the little lotus could no longer bear it. He threw himself at her while clinging onto one leg, tears running like a tap. I am very useful, really, do not throw me back. Little lotus stubbornly clinging to her leg, fearing her outright rejection. Throw back? Where? Jun Wuxie finally answered when the words from the little lotus awoke her from her previous stupor. Chapter 18, Small White Lotus, 3. When a baby is born into this world, contractual spirits will form a bond with the human soul, and the contractual spirits will sleep in the soul and only awaken at the age of 14. No known method except in the event of death can separate them. One can only form a bond with one contractual spirit for life, so no matter how useless her own contractual spirit is, she has no other choice in the matter, and even more so to throw it out. The spirit world, little lotus bitterly replied. That's where you're from? This was the first time she's heard of this place. Little lotus nodded, as if afraid of Jun Wuxie disliking him. In a well-behaved manner he added, before the awakening, the contractual spirit will stay in the spirit world. If the person dies, we will go back there again. That place is terrifying. I've just managed to escape, please, do not throw me back, okay? She'd like to, but can do that? I can prove to be useful, please wait. A sudden determination seemed to have possessed little lotus when he finally let go of her leg, his small frail body quivering as he stood up, lifted his tender little arm straight out in front of Jun Wuxie. Jun Wuxie asked with big innocent eyes looking at him. Little lotus snorted, his tender little face with a painful expression looking at her. He mustered up his courage and finally shouted, Eat! What's there to eat? I am a special lotus. If you eat my petals, it can purify your blood and remove all impurities within it. Little lotus declared with vigor and pride. Jun Wuxie's eyes lit up when she heard that. No one knew better than her how rare was it to purify one's blood. Even if a medicine is amazing, there was still a limit. To be able to condition the human body and to improve the physique was possible. To truly cleanse the body of all impurities was akin to being reborn. In her previous world, despite technology and medicine being very well developed, many scientists were still researching genes and how they affect the human body, but still have not found any suitable methods. If what Little Lotus claimed was true, then he really is important. In order to determine if Little Lotus was speaking the truth, Jun Wuxia held onto his little tender arm. Although she knew the little guy in front of her was in fact a white lotus, the appearance of him in human form made it difficult for her to act any further. She brought his arm to her lips and looked at him. He was already bawling with huge teardrops falling. She really wasn't a monster. Softly sighing, she put his tender little arm down. Although the little lotus was determined to be useful to his master, when he saw that she had put his arms to her lips, he couldn't control his own fear and tears started falling on its own. When the expected pain did not come, he had mixed feelings. He was really very happy not to be eaten, but the owner will feel that he is really useless and abandon him. I am really not afraid of pain, Little Lotus weakly declared. Jun Wuxia glanced over to his red and watery eyes. Little Lotus was instantly discouraged. Chapter 19, Small White Lotus, 4. Well, although it hurts, but it will grow back. Little Lotus softly said. Your petals are part of your body? Jun Wuxia clarified. Little Lotus nodded. So if I want to pluck a petal, I am actually pulling your arm? Little Lotus nodded again. Jun Wuxia was completely silent. Just when she finally found a use for this little fellow, it kind of turned into cannibalism, which no matter what it crossed her bottom line and it was not something she would do. Hence, he had reverted back to his useless status. Ah! I have this! Little Lotus suddenly exclaimed as he touched his little apron and held out his small clenched fist. He slowly opened his hand, revealing 5 small seeds quietly lying on his palm. What are these? Jun Wuxia asked. These are lotus seeds. Little Lotus blinked a few times. Although the effect isn't as great as eating the petals, consuming it can strengthen the bones, purify the bone marrow, though it's unable to renew the tendons and flesh, he slowly trailed off. Only 5? Jun Wuxia raised her eyebrows. Having such an effect is pretty good too. I'm left with 5 for now. I can produce one once a month, the others ate them all up. I could only save these 5 seeds. Little Lotus explained timidly. They? Jun Wuxia found it really hard to understand his manner of speaking. However, once a month is still good. After keeping the 5 lotus seeds safely, Jun Wuxia thought about her own little lotus. Although he had no fighting ability, his ability to sense seems quite good, and these lotus seeds, although they are not at the same level as elixirs, it can significantly improve a person's constitution. This is what she needed most now. Whether it was herself, Jun Xian or Jun Qing, they all needed to improve their body's constitution. Conditioning drugs can only achieve a certain effect. There will still, however, have some side effects, and targeting the bones were one of the hardest to achieve. These lotus seeds have solved the first major step. With strong bones as the base, conditioning the rest of the body is simply child's play to her. With a contractual spirit meant that she could start cultivating in this new world. Even tough Little Lotus was unable to fight, at least she could start cultivating and rely on herself. Little Lotus was waiting anxiously at the side, waiting for some kind of affirmation from Jun Wuxia as it fiddled with its fingers when she finally nodded at him. Knowing that it would not be abandoned, Little Lotus gave a wide smile as tears started trickling down. He vowed in his heart to be a good contractual spirit and do his utmost for his new master. She started studying him in earnest as she found that various parts of his body have different effects. His flesh and blood could practically make one's physique reborn. Even his tears have the effect of conditioning the blood. It can be said, other than its 0 combat abilities, it could be considered a priceless treasure. Chapter 20, Body is a Treasure, 1. To harvest the tears, the little black cat nipped Little Lotus a couple of times, causing the tears to flow like a faucet, only this time, the tears were all collected in a small bottle. This was specially prepared for Jun Xian and Jun Chang. Before she grew strong on her own, Lin Palace safety fell on the shoulders of the two of them. After crying so hard, the poor exhausted little lotus changed back into a barely visible ring and sat quietly on her finger. After the little harvest, June Wuxia fell into a deep slumber. At the crack of dawn, she went to look for Jun Xian. Jun Xian was surprised to find his precious granddaughter look for him on her own accord. Ever since she was injured, he rarely had the chance to spend time with her. Every time he tried to interact with her, she seemed quiet and withdrawn, prickling his heart. Wu Xie, why are you here? Come, sit down quickly. Jun Xian hurriedly ushered her to the nearest seat. Jun Wuxia was treated like a treasure as she is the only in her generation. With Jun Qing's disability, having children may not be possible. She sat down meekly as she slowly warmed up to her new grandfather. Grandfather, I'd like to discuss something with you, she said solemnly. Her sudden declaration made his heart skip a beat. Could she have heard all the rumors that have been going around? Just say it. Whatever you want, just name it. As long as it is something within my means, I will do it for you, he addressed her warmly. Jun Wuxia cleared her throat. This was her first family formal conversation she's ever had. Grandfather already knows that I have no contractual spirit. I know that I'm unable to cultivate, and I've been thinking, ever since I've been recuperating in my room, I've been looking through some medical books. My writing skills are not that bad, and since I can't cultivate any spiritual power, I was thinking of studying medicine. He looked at her with a shocked expression. She actually came to say something so sensible? Although he loves his granddaughter, he knows she has no skills other than brewing trouble. He sat there petrified. Jun Wuxia saw that he was frozen in place. She persisted on, Lin Palace is not as peaceful as before. After my injury, I've come to terms with a lot of things. You don't have to worry about me, I really want to change. Jun Xian remained silent. Lin Palace's current predicament wasn't good. Even Mo Xianfei personally broke off the engagement shows that their standing was no longer stable. He knew he could no longer conceal anything from her. Chapter 21, Body is a Treasure, 2. His granddaughter was still so carefree despite experiencing so much hardships. On top of that, she even became so well-behaved and sensible. This caused Jun Xian to feel conflicted and inevitably sad. After all, having him as a grandfather was useless. Although she had lost both her parents since young, as her grandfather he couldn't even protect her and give her a stable life. This matter I'll leave it to you. As long as you want to, just go for it. Just remember, as long as I am around, no one can bully you. Jun Xian declared with a glint in his eyes. Jun Wuxia's change naturally made him very happy. Thank you, grandfather, she nodded. We are family, no need for such formalities. As long as you are happy, as your grandfather, I feel at ease. If she was really interested in medicine, it would be a good instead of letting her think of the scoundrel Mo Xianfei. I will ask the servants to prepare some medical books and herbs for you. If anything is lacking, just tell Uncle Fu. Uncle Fu was an authoritative figure in Lin Palace. He had followed Jun Xian from a young age and was second in command in the Ruilin army before handing down his power to Jun Wuxia's father. After retiring from the army, he took charge of all the household matters in the Lin Palace. Before it was even lunchtime, Uncle Fu sent the servants to send over medical books and herbs. Her room was quickly filled up with medical books and large boxes of medicinal herbs. Jun Xian even instructed for a room near her courtyard to be converted into a pharmacy. Uncle Fu came by to check if everything was in order, after which he left her room. She quickly glanced through a few books nearby. After reading a few casually, she placed them aside. Those books that were sent to her might not be top-tier medical books, but they were still very rare books. But once they went through her hands, she could memorize everything and even describe an even more advanced treatment than what was described in the book. She was despairing at this world's medical level after experiencing firsthand through those quacks. She needed to see if the herbs and treatments were any different from her previous world. Although there were some similarities, her comprehension of fusing the medicine and herbs of this world and her previous world was terrifying. In one day, she fully comprehended all of it. The books recorded most of the herbs and efficiency of this world, and within a short span, she had them all clearly sorted in her mind. When are you going to start? The black cat walked elegantly around the pharmacy. The room was filled with the scent of nostalgia as the fragrance of herbs filled the room. It suddenly had a flashback of its mistress seated in a similar room surrounded by various herbs and medical books as she dabbled in various prescriptions and treatments for a decade.